Hello, this is my review for episode 4 of The Chair Company, which is called Bahld Harmon Birthplace Disputed in brackets.
I'm doing something beyond what anybody could ever dream of.
Oh my God.
So in this episode, we go back in time a bit to find out more about Ron and Barb. The episode starts at what feels like a work Christmas party 6 years ago. Neither Ron or Barb seem to be having a great time, so they escape and head to a bar where they realise that they want to jack in their jobs and follow their dreams. Barb has an idea for a portable, stylish breast pump that she wants to create, and Ron talks about an idea he's had that he thinks could be really fun and could help people, which is the Jeep tours he's spoken about in previous episodes. Initially, Barb seems reluctant for both of them to quit their jobs and start afresh. She seems under the impression that it was just going to be her taking this leap of faith and blowing everything up to start over, as she puts it. But Ron seems committed to bringing his idea to life and wants to start his own business too. So what we are starting to see here are those very early seeds of doubt from Barb about Ron's idea and the fact that he wants to leave his job at Fisher Obey to pursue his dream.
It's a big problem.
Barb doesn't really seem to demonstrate the same sort of confidence in Ron as he does in Barb, and this comes up again much later in the episode when Ron is speaking to his daughter Natalie, and she describes how she perceives her parents' dynamic. She views her dad as just going along with her mum's plans and ideas, taking a back seat and putting his own life aside to support her. And this got me thinking that perhaps Ron's obsession with Tekka and the potential conspiracy around it is coming from a place of frustration or dissatisfaction with his own life. And it was at this point that I started thinking about Ron as potentially being an unreliable narrator.
You can rely on me.
And I'm starting to question if we can really trust everything he's seeing and experiencing, or if he is having a bit of a crisis and is potentially experiencing some kind of hallucinations or delirium.
There's so much badness in this world. We're completely helpless in you. We have no protection at all.
Maybe I'm reading too much into that, but with this show, you just never know. Back in the present day, and Barb tells Ron about an investor meeting she just had that didn't go very well. So we're 6 years on now from when Barb decided to take the plunge and leave her job to become an entrepreneur, and it seems like it's not going very well. She's still looking for investment, so we can assume that within this time, Ron has predominantly been the main financial provider for the family. In terms of the Chair Company conspiracy, putting together what he's discovered so far, Ron starts to think that something is being hidden within the chairs, so he decides to order one from the Tekka website, but they're sold out. The next morning, Ron awakens to knocking at his door. A man has arrived to pick up a 1965 Beatles figure collection that he has bought on eBay from, he believes, from Ron. The man is frustrated because he feels like he's being ripped off for the figurines, especially as some of the paint has come off Ringo's nose.
I can't believe you're doing this.
Ron is obviously very confused and concerned as he has no idea what the man is talking about. The buyer becomes more and more worked up and eventually leaves. Now, this is one of many peculiar and hilarious moments that Ron has with these seemingly random characters, but that could eventually help us piece together the circumstances surrounding Tekka and all this weirdness. It seems like someone is messing with Ron. They have listed something on eBay and used his address as the pickup address. So is there something more to this, or is it just a completely random, unexpected moment used to throw off the audience again and remind us that we really don't know what's going to happen next?
What the hell is happening here?
At Ron's office, he overhears that Douglas hasn't come into work. Now, Douglas is an older gentleman who Ron has had a couple of run-ins with. At the very start of the series, Ron beats Douglas to a promotion, and Douglas decides he's going to stop taking life too seriously and starts bringing a bubble necklace into work and blows bubbles on people, which ultimately leads Ron to yelling at him. Now, in a previous episode, Ron went to the city records office to access the deed to the land where he thought the Tekka office might have been, and he used Douglas's name to sign it out. And now he thinks that this has something to do with Douglas not turning up for work. We later find out there was nothing to worry about. Douglas was just crushed by his fridge and got stuck for 2 days, but he's fine. In the background, there's still an ongoing HR investigation into Ron's perceived inappropriate behaviour towards his colleague Amanda. That's whose skirt he ended up looking up after the Tekka chair collapsed. I think we revisit this storyline each episode just for a moment or two. This and so much else adds to the depth and breadth of the world. There are moments throughout the series so far that do not get forgotten about. Everything has a purpose and contributes to the world in some way. Or some other moments are completely random and don't go anywhere, and trying to grasp which which is part of the challenge. And it means the show has the viewer thinking deeper about everything they see, every moment that happens and every new character we're introduced to. Moments and characters that you think are going to be forgotten about by the time we get to the next episode haven't been. Everything about this show feels so intentional and like the creators know exactly what to do to hold your attention. Some more weirdness happens with Ron. He gets a phone call from a modelling agency.
Who is this?
Who regretfully tell him that they can't represent him because his face is too extreme. And he was actually beaten by famous model Bahld Harmon. But of course, Ron says he never applied to be a model. And then later his boss confronts him about an email he apparently sent demanding a raise, but Ron never did any of this. So either someone is messing with him or something is happening to him where he is doing these things but can't remember. I just would not be surprised if it turned out that Ron was desperate to be a model and so submitted some of his headshots for consideration. That really just wouldn't surprise me at this point. So what's real and what's not? What is Ron doing to himself and what is being done to him? Are Tekka behind all of this? Is it his colleagues, his family? More and more I feel like there is these hints at Ron being this unreliable narrator. I don't think we can fully trust everything he says or does or believes. I don't think he's being deceptive, but I do think that maybe he's going through something. Maybe he's having like a Moon Knight moment. We then go back 5 years ago to where Ron is coming home from a meeting with an investor for his Jeep tours that did not go well. He says to Barb that he couldn't get the potential investor to smile, so he drives faster and faster, hits a log, and the investor smashes his face into the windshield, and Ron is a mixture of horrified and frustrated, but is more determined than ever to make his idea work, saying it doesn't matter how much it costs and that he's never going back to Fisher-Robay and that he's going to show his kids that you can follow your dreams. He says he'd rather kill himself than go back to Fisher-Robay. So again, we're getting a glimpse of these internal struggles that Ron is having. We know that he goes back to Fisher-Robay. We know that he was willing to make financial sacrifices to make the Jeep tours work, and it doesn't work. Is the show an allegory for a man having a midlife crisis or men's mental health issues and the different ways in which they can present themselves? I mean, maybe, or it's all just complete nonsense. I don't think we'll know until the series ends, or we might never know. Something I am contemplating is that we won't get any true satisfying resolution to anything, and the series will finish at some bizarre point and we'll all still have so many unanswered questions. Anyway, carrying on, there's an incident involving the police which turns out to be nothing, but Ron can't take it anymore, so he, Barb and their son Seth go and stay with Natalie and her fiancée Tara, and this is quite a tense situation for Barb and Ron. Then later on, Ron receives a customer service feedback survey from Tekka asking about the product and how they did, but obviously he didn't actually purchase the chair in the end because they were sold out. Then at the end of the survey, the final question is, are we done, Ron? Ooh, this is so good. I was again genuinely kind of spooked, and I found this so creepy and eerie. Like, what the hell is going on? Then finally, as we head towards the climax of the episode, Ron finally gets hold of one of the Tekka chairs thanks to his accomplice Mike Santini. He then confides in his daughter Natalie and tells her everything that's been going on with Tekka, and this is when the audience find out what Ron believes he has found by dismantling the chair.
I'm uncovering a vast criminal conspiracy.
He believes that Tekka are using the chairs to smuggle opioids into the country, and he makes a pretty compelling argument for this, and you can clearly see his train of thought and how he's gone down this rabbit hole, how every piece of information has led to the next. It's really amusing. It's either genius or absolute madness. It really could go either way. Natalie is clearly really worried about Ron. She recognizes his behavior as being similar to behavior he has exhibited in the past when his family were very worried about him. He then gets a call from Santini, who thinks he's found Ken Tucker, who is CFO of Tekka's parent company. So that's episode 4. We've learned a lot more about Ron and recognize that some of his current behavior is similar to behavior he has demonstrated in the past whilst being under a lot of stress. So, is the whole thing a stress-induced hallucination? Is someone from his past out to get him? Has he rubbed too many people up the wrong way and so now someone else is out to get him? Or is he really onto some widespread sinister conspiracy? Anyway, that's it from me for now. I may or may not do a review of each episode and might just wait until the series ends to give my views on it as a whole, but we'll see how I'm feeling after episode 5 comes out. Bye!